Hi, this is Ricky from Data Mastery. In today's video, we are going to talk about two concepts of Snowflake, streams and tasks. So you can create a basic, the data pipeline within Snowflake using these two components. What is a stream? It is a change data capture mechanism. It records all the inserts and deletes and updates on the table, and it creates a delta view. A delta view is basically a difference between the previous state of your table and the current state of the table. So it records all those DML operations that occur on the specific table. And what is a task? Task is a scheduler. You can trigger a task based on a certain schedule, like after 5 minutes, 2 minutes, cron expressions. And then you can also trigger a task after the execution of another task. So one task can trigger another task. So these are the two things that we're gonna use today. And what we're gonna build in this video is how you can capture the changes in your data and then insert those changes into, let's say, some other table, which you can call it as a, the data that you're gonna process. So in this example, I have taken an example of orders, like the raw orders and the processed orders, and I'll show you how you can leverage these two concepts or functionalities to create a basic data pipeline. So first of all, I'm going to create a database called orders. And in this database, I'm going to create a, a table called orders raw in the public schema. So it has 4 columns: order ID, customer, amount, and created at, which is a timestamp. So we have orders raw table created successfully. So if I go here and just refresh it, you can see in the public schema, I have this orders raw table. And then I'm going to create a target table, which I'll be using to store the processed orders. So as you can see here, it has all the 4 columns plus the additional column, which is called processed at. So now I have 2 tables in my schema in the orders database. So next thing I'm going to do is to create a stream. So the stream that I'm going to create, that needs to be created on the raw table, which is orders underscore raw. And if you want to see your stream, you can simply type show streams. And here you can see that I have a stream called orders stream on the database table, on the database which is orders, and the schema name is public, and the table name is orders underscore raw. And you can see here the type of this is delta. So it's basically a delta table, you can say, or a delta view that gets created when you create a stream. So whatever the delta between your current state or your previous state and current state, that will be recorded in the streams. So now you have a stream creator. The next thing that we need to do is to create a task which will actually pull the data from this stream after a certain amount of time. So I'm going to create a task called process new orders, and for the task you need to specify a warehouse, which is a compute underscore WH. It's the default warehouse. And here's the schedule, like how often you want to run this task. You want to run it after every minute or 5 minutes. You can define your schedule here. Now this will be triggered, let's say, after every 1 minute, but after this task is going to trigger, it will check whether this stream has any new data. So if it has any new data, then only the further code block will be executed. Otherwise, the task is not going to do anything. So let's assume that the stream has new data. Then what's going to happen? Then it's going to insert the data into orders process table, and these 4 columns, which is basically also the columns in the raw table, plus the processed at column. And this is going to be the current timestamp, and this is gonna be picked from the orders stream, and then it will be inserted into the processed orders. So I'm gonna create a task here. And if you want to check the task config, just run the show task command, and here is what you see here: the name of the task, the ID, and the database name, schema, owner, warehouse, and schedule, which is 1 minute. This is very important to know, which is the state of the task. Whenever you create a new task, it is suspended by default. So it's not going to do anything after you create it. So what you need to do is you need to run this command, which is basically going to resume the task. Now it says resume, but it's actually going to start the task. So that task is going to get triggered after 1 minute or 5 minutes, whatever the time interval that you set. Here you can also see the definition of the task and the condition as well. So this is the condition: if my stream has some data, then only the task is gonna run this insert statement. So let's resume this or activate this. So run this SQL statement, alter task name, and then resume. And now if I look at the config of the task, and here you can see that the state is started. So previously it was suspended, and now it is showing as started, which is good. You can also take a look at your schema. You have two tables, and now you can see that we also have a stream, which is order stream, and we also have a task, which is process new order. So all these objects or resources are gonna show up in your database. So one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the frequency of the task from 1 minute to 5 minutes, because 1 minute is too little time to explain some other concepts, like to show the data in the stream and whatnot, because the data is basically being read by the task if I set this frequency to 1 minute, and then the stream will look empty. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna update the definition of the task and run the show task command again, and right now you can see that this is suspended. So I'm not going to resume this right now. I'm going to insert new data into my table. So now I'm going to insert these couple of rows into the raw table. And now let's check whether the stream has any data or not. If you run the select statement that checks whether the stream has any data or not, it will return either true or false. If the stream has any data, then it will return true. Otherwise, it's going to return false. And if you want to see the records in the stream, you can simply run the select statement on the stream the way you run the select statement on any table. So if you say select star from orders stream, it will show you the two statements that we added earlier, the two rows that we inserted, and those are now in the stream. Those are not in the processed orders underscore process table. Those are still in the stream. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to resume this task. Now this is going to be triggered after 5 minutes. And if you want to trigger the task right now, then you can execute this command, which is execute task name. Otherwise, you're going to wait for 5 minutes and then your task will be triggered. So I'm going to just execute this statement right now. And this is going to execute the task. And what that task is going to do, the task is going to read the data from the stream and insert into the orders underscore process table. So if I look at the data in the stream again, you can see there is no data anymore. And if I run this function, it's going to return me true because there is no data. And where's the data gone? Well, the data is in the orders underscore processed table. So if I say select star from orders underscore processed, and here's your two rows. So this is done by the task. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to return this to 1 minute. And I'm going to resume the task again. And now I'm going to insert a couple of more records into the raw table. Now what's going to happen, the data is going to go into the stream. You can see here the stream has the data. We got true here. And in a minute's time, the task is going to trigger, and then it's going to insert the data from the stream to the processed table. So if I run the select statement, so I have these two records, which is order ID 3 and 4. So I'm just going to wait for a minute and let's see how it's going to execute. Now you can see that the stream is empty, which means the task was triggered. And if I select the data from the process table, and you can see that I have 4 rows now. So the task got triggered and it inserted those records which were in the stream into the orders underscore process table. Now you can also check the task status or the execution of the task. If you go to the task history and go to task runs, it will explain you if there is any error with the task or whether it basically successful or failed or whatever happened. As you can see, there are a few tasks which were succeeded. Some of the failed task executions were from the previous POC that I was doing. But one interesting thing to note down here is there is also a task run which was skipped. And why was it skipped? Because task got triggered, but the condition was false, which means the stream had no data, and that's why the task just skipped. So it triggered after every 1 minute, right? That's the condition that we set up, not the condition, but the scheduler. There was a schedule to run the task after every minute, but it's not gonna do anything if there is no data in the stream. So that's why you see the status is skipped. And if you hover the mouse over this status, you can see that conditional expression for task evaluated to false. So that's why it was skipped. And the succeeded ones are where there was a data in the stream and the data was read by the task and inserted into the target table. So you can insert a couple of more records and it will follow the same process. After a minute, the task is going to get triggered and your new records will be added to the target table. So that was all about how you can use streams and tasks to set up a simple data pipeline. So here we are not using any Airflow, we are not using any external functions. It is totally built-in functionality of Snowflake, totally managed service. So you can leverage these functionalities and build your data pipeline. And obviously, you can do some data transformation as well while you're doing this, the loading into the target table. Like if you want to do some manipulation of the data here, you can do that as well. These functionalities are very convenient to ingest and track the new data and also transform the data and load the data into the new table using task. And it supports real-time reporting without any manual steps. So this is a very powerful combination of the features that you can use to build a real-time pipeline in Snowflake. I hope you like this video and do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to our channel if you haven't done already and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching.